Welcome to the NovaLeague. I'm Gremlin, and for almost as long as I've been uploading to the channel, I've been working on a secret project in the background. And if you're watching this video, it means I've finally completed it. I call it the Shiny Type Quest, a challenge to find the shiny forms of your favorite Pokemon from every type. This is the first video of the playlist, and in this one, I'll be telling you all about my favorite Pokemon of each type. If you want to see the shiny reactions of me finding each of these 18 Pokemon, that's where the rest of this playlist is for. Though, keep in mind that the playlist is in type order and not upload order. Before we get to talking about my favorite grass type, I should let you know that I'll be talking about some Pokemon more than others. A few of these shiny reaction videos have little intros styled a lot like this video, where I'll go in depth explaining what the Pokemon means to me and why I like it. So if you feel like I didn't explain enough about a certain Pokemon, make sure to watch the playlist. And with all of that finally out of the way, let's talk about my favorite grass type, and what's a better way to start than with a starter? Decidueye. Now, right at the top of the list, you can already tell that there's some funkiness going on here. Yes, I included both forms of Decidueye. Now, I did find the Alolan shiny for the playlist, because I don't really like the shiny for the Hisuian form. It's way too similar to the original. But when it comes to the base Pokemon, I genuinely could not figure out which one I liked more. When it comes to the rest of the NovaLeague, they were lucky enough to get into Pokemon when they were kids, but for me, I guess I missed the boat. They eventually convinced me to download Pokemon Go when it came out in 2016, and I was instantly hooked, and I needed more Pokemon content injected straight into my bloodstream. I asked them about what Pokemon games to play in preparation for the release of Sun and Moon, and so my first main series game was, weirdly enough, Pokemon Yellow Virtual Console, which meant that my first starter was actually Pikachu. Okay, well that doesn't really count. I didn't choose Pikachu. So after I beat Yellow, I was hanging out at Adviside's place when he suggested that I get Pokemon Y, and so I downloaded it from the eShop and I chose my first starter, Fennekin. And Delphox was alright. I mean, I don't hate Delphox, but you know, I didn't click with any of the Kalos starters. But as the lead up to Sun and Moon rolled out, the hype season was insane. Every week or two, a new trailer dropped and revealed a handful of Pokemon, and every time it was amazing, because not only was it new for me, but it was also new for my friends too. The second Rowlet was revealed, I already knew that that was my dude. I mean, look at him. I love birds, he's an owl, he's unreasonably round, and from my experience playing through Y a couple of times and using Go-Goat or Chestnut, I knew that I liked grass types. But I was in no way ready for the disappointment, because I already knew that Rowlet would not become what I wanted him to become. You see, there was this leak going around of the final starter evolutions, and not being familiar with Pokemon leaks or rumors, I had automatically assumed that it was 100% fake, which sucked so bad, because the leaked final grass starter was perfection. Oh well. I guess I'll never get to use this fan-designed beauty. Wait. Pokemon is revealing the final starter evolutions? Do they usually do that? Oh my god, is that silhouette the same as the— No way! The leak was real? Wait, ghost type? What happened to the flying type? A ghost type starter? I kid you not, I remember exactly where I was standing when I watched this reveal trailer. Advocide was on his way to pick me up for school, and I was standing in my hallway by the living room, waiting for the text that he was outside, as I held my phone to my face, losing my entire actual mind at the fact that not only were the leaks real, but that Rowlet's flying type turned into a ghost type somehow, which I guess is a thing that can happen in Pokemon? I don't know, I've only played 2 whole games. And also, oh my god, that signature move is insane. This guy is awesome. I distinctly remember the feeling of the ghost type being revealed as it like faded onto the frame and it wasn't blue like the flying type and it was purple. Crazy. So yeah, pretty much Decidueye embodies my entire experience of getting into Pokemon for the first time. But on top of that, the Pokemon Company had the audacity to make Decidueye even cooler by including Rowlet in a second starter trio in literally the very next generation, and giving him a regional evolution that turns his flying type into a fighting type? Pardon? Why is he red? Fall colors? I love fall colors. Fun fact, Hisuian Decidueye is the only final stage grass starter to have 0 green in its design. That's actually bonkers. His attack animations are so cool, and his personality is amazing. It's honestly so difficult trying to figure out which of these Decidueyes I like better, and honestly, if you make me choose, I will cry. Alright, so I just ranted a lot about my favorite grass type, and we still have 17 types to go. But to be fair, it was also my start as a Pokemon trainer, and a 2-for-1, so let's make this next one quick with my favorite fire type. Turtonator. Yeah, Turtonator. Out of all the fire types in Pokemon, this guy. So this goes back to the whole Sun and Moon hype season, where they were showing off literally everything, and when they dropped Turtonator, I felt like I was the only one who was excited. My preferred game version was Moon, but Turtonator almost forced my hand. I think I just found it funny that they took a turtle and decided that the two best types to embody this animal would be fire and dragon? Listen, I thought it was so crazy that Pokemon would give a turtle the fire type not once, but twice, that I assumed that Turtonator had to evolve from Torkoal. But no, he's just his own guy. It's so funny to me that they gave this random ass one-off turtle the fire dragon type, and not this actual fire dragon Pokemon. Plus, Turtonator's rock spikes and sharp edges make him look so cool, but his dumb little face and mustache make him look so dopey and friendly, I just want to hug him, despite his obviously unhuggable shapes. Just look at his little oven mitt hands. What is up with those? Literally the only round parts of his design. Also, the fact that he faces his shell outward toward the enemy means that he's one of the few Pokemon that face the trainer in battle, and that's just great. We're friends. Okay, moving on then to my favorite water type. Drum roll please. Yo, no way! Another friend-shaped turtle with rock spikes? Dreadnought. Dude, when this guy was revealed out of nowhere in a trailer for Sword and Shield, alongside the best Pokemon trailer music ever, I lost my mind. Literally my first thought was, oh my god, they made Turtonator 2. This was the first time I took time after a trailer to draw one of the new Pokemon. And I don't draw, so that's crazy. I knew I needed this guy on my team. I assumed by looking at it though that it would evolve, but I was prepared to mash B because this guy's design was perfect as is. But when Sword and Shield eventually came out, you can imagine my surprise when I ran into the grass and discovered Choodle? Yeah, this guy doesn't evolve, he is the evolution, and Choodle is ridiculous. When it appeared on screen, Rando and Avocide went, ew! Me though? I screamed, oh my god, he's a baby. I love this evolution line, top tier little fellas. And now that we've made it past grass, fire, and water, here comes my favorite electric type. Joltik. Yeah, not Galvantula, even though that guy is really cool, but just Joltik. And after rambling about the first three Pokemon, prepare for me to say nothing about this actual baby. I have a whole story about this guy in the intro to It's Shiny video, so I won't bother repeating any of it here. Just know that I love this little dude with my entire heart. And now, my favorite ground type, Sandslash. So, the fact that I started with Pokemon Go and Yellow Virtual Console means that I have a soft spot for a lot of Generation 1 Pokemon. Every time I caught a new guy, I would ask my friends if it was good or not, but I didn't care to ask with Sandshrew or Sandslash because I loved him immediately. You know, technically, we started the NovaLeague back in 2016, and back then my mascot was Sandslash. In fact, I wasn't even Gremlin yet, I was Slash.
Welcome to the NovaLeague, I'm Slash.
Back when all I really knew was the original 151, Sandslash was my favorite of the bunch. He's just a really good animal. He was my MVP in Yellow, completely mowing down poison types and the Gengar line, which, side note, made me think that Ghost was weak to ground because I didn't know Gengar was part poison. Anyway, Sandslash is friend-shaped, small but mighty, overall a wonderful little dude. He's simple yet effective, and at the end of the day, sometimes that's all you really need. Also, my most hyped shiny reaction ever was to a Sandslash in my 2021 Safari Week video. That was one of the best days ever. So thanks for that, Sandslash, very cool. And now for my favorite dark type. Alright, now listen, we're moving on to another funky entry on the list because I actually have two favorite dark types. I included both on the list because they're actually the only two dark types that I actually like. And also, I like both of them for the same exact reasons. Because they remind me of stuff from the books I write. Now I'm sorry, okay? Every video I make is an ad, but yes, I write books, both sci-fi and children's fantasy. And both my favorite dark types remind me of something from each of those series. First, we have Cacturn. It's an odd favorite, I know, but Cacti and Cacturn are amazing. They remind me of the cactus golems from Joe Wizard's Traveling Castle. Silly little tricksters that wander Red Rock, a Wild West town in the middle of an otherwise medieval-inspired fantasy. I grew up and still live in a desert, so I've always been surrounded by cacti. I think they're neat plants, and I love the direction the Cacnea line takes the cactus Pokemon design. Cacturn's simply an outlaw, arms ready to quick draw in a standoff, and that's awesome. And the second dark type is a brand new Pokemon, and one that I initially overlooked. Lokix. Now, I passed this thing up during my first playthrough of Scarlet. From the quick glances I got of it by looking over at Avocide's screen, I thought it was a generic bug. By the time I saw a bunch walking around in the late game, I already had my whole team trained up, so I ignored him. But by the time I started my shiny themed dream team for Violet, his shinies stood out to me. The theme of the Dream Team was Thrones of Time, my sci-fi series, and Shiny Lokix is yellow, which reminds me of Siriv, an evil yellow bug guy. The Ilsians are my favorite alien species of Thrones of Time. They're short, colorful ant people, famous for tinkering with robotics or being bounty hunters. Once I found Shiny Nimble and started using Lokix, I realized how cool it was. Its animations revealed that those chainsaw things were actually another set of limbs. Its cry sounded robotic, and it looked robotic too. It has a sick hidden ability, a unique type combination, and it's exactly as tall as the Ilsians in Thrones of Time. I'll say it once and I'll say it a million more times, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was quite literally made for specifically me, which is a perfect segue into my favorite psychic type. And beyond even my favorite psychic type, here comes my favorite Pokemon. Full stop. Girafarig. What? Really? I know what you're thinking. Out of all the psychic types, this one is my favorite. Out of all the Pokemon, this one is my favorite. That doesn't make any sense. And hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right. My original favorite Pokemon was Sandslash. Then it was Decidueye. Okay, I get it, they're cool. Then they were dethroned by Joltik. Alright, I mean he's cute, not that strong, but there's a sentimental attachment, so sure, it makes sense. No, but Girafarig though? Huh? So, I first became aware of Girafarig in my first playthrough of Heart Gold. Morty's gym was destroying me, and I couldn't use Sandslash to mow through ghost types like I did in Yellow because they went and gave them Levitate. Huh? So I was stalling, exploring the region, when I found Girafarig. First impressions? Its cry? Adorable. Its design? Bright, small, funny proportions for a giraffe, funky, weird, and simple. I caught it. What type is it? Psychic. Well, that's good against poison, but it's weak to ghost, so it won't be that helpful. Oh my god, is a normal type also? I added it to my team, and I swept Morty with it. He quite literally could not touch me. I figured that past that point, this frail, unevolving little dude wouldn't have much more use, but no. This guy could learn Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Facade, and Crunch, and in later gens, Dazzling Gleam. Much like Turtonator, who faces the trainer in battle, Girafarig has a funny little dude just vibing on his tail. Yellow isn't my favorite color, but it makes me happy when I see it, and Girafarig's shiny stays yellow, but not in a lame way where shinies don't change, because the pink turns blue, and not just any blue. Possibly the best blue that ever existed. I don't know, I quite literally cannot describe why Girafarig is my favorite, past the fact that just when I see Girafarig, when I hear Girafarig, when I use Girafarig, I can't help but feel happy about it. So while he may not be the best Pokemon, in fact he kinda sucks. Whoa, hold on. Future Gremlin interrupting here because something crazy happened. I recorded most of this video back in April 2022, and past me couldn't possibly dream of the news from the future. Girafarig has existed for 23 years, and I guess Game Freak decided that right now would be the perfect time to give my favorite Pokemon ever an evolution, Farigiraf. Now, here's the thing, right? I don't know that I like this guy more than Girafarig yet. Sometimes I like new Pokemon immediately, enough to make them a favorite. But something about my favorite getting a new edition makes me hesitate because now my Girafarig changes into not a Girafarig. Who knows, maybe after actually playing the games, future Gremlin will like Farigiraf more than Girafarig. Hey, how's it going? Future Gremlin here. Farigiraf is so cool, oh my god. I officially consider both Girafarig and Farigiraf tied for my favorite Pokemon. Farigiraf is awesome, Girafarig is adorable. I find it genuinely difficult to play through the game without one of them on my team. Okay, now back to past future Gremlin. But either way, wow, it is so cool that this obscure little dude is getting the love his brother Stantler got. I genuinely can't believe that they introduced Farigiraf as I was making this list, and as I started to become known as the Girafarig guy. And for that, the entire Girafarig line, which is a wacky thing to say, has solidified themselves as my two favorite Pokemon for all time. Anyway, back to past me. Ooh, time travel by my books. If I see one in a game, it makes me smile, and at the end of the day, isn't that what Pokemon's all about? And now, my favorite poison type, Dragalge. So let's go back to that day when I was hanging out at Avicide's place and I chose Fennekin. I played through a lot of Y that day, and was learning a lot about Pokemon, getting more and more excited about Sun and Moon. I ran into the section of the game that introduces Hordes, and I asked what the deal with that was, and then Avicide made the mistake of letting me know what shinies were. Honestly, that exact moment in time forever changed me as a person, and I didn't even know it yet. I'm sure that if Avicide knew that one day I would be spending my days doing this, he wouldn't have told me. But after he did, I attempted my first shiny hunt, having literally no concept for what that actually meant, and I started horde hunting for Marie. I gave up after what, in hindsight, was probably like 100 encounters, but then he told me about chain fishing. And a few weeks later, I tried it out, and I went bonkers, finding my first 3 shinies ever in the same day, in order being Relicanth, Horsey, and Skrelt. When I moved on in the game, I chose to keep Skrelt in the party, and when it lost its water type and became a dragon poison type, I think I legitimately went for real insane. Dragalge is a terrifying creature. I love how it looks like kelp, like those seahorses that camouflage themselves, but taking what is usually a defensive measure and turning it into a sneaky hunting strategy. Imagine this beast hiding in a deep trench waiting to strike. A dragon type that is strong against fairies? Crazy. Out of all the poison types, I feel like this one is the most animalistic and wild, the scariest and the coolest. Now for my favorite bug type, which won't be a surprise if you were paying attention in the intro. Volcarona. Like I said, for some of the Pokemon on this list, I talk about them a lot more in their shiny videos, and Volcarona's video was, I think, the first time I tried an intro like that on the channel. So if you want to hear about how much I like this sun god moth, definitely check out its video in the playlist. Moving on then to my favorite flying type, which was difficult to pinpoint actually. So, fun fact about me, I love birds. Birds are my favorite category of animal. My favorite animal of all time is the Roadrunner, but we don't have a Roadrunner Pokemon yet. Somehow. My favorite starter is a bird, but Decidueye isn't actually a flying type. Talonflame is cool, but it gets rocked by rocks. A lot of regional birds are part normal type, which I find somewhat boring. Zapdos is my favorite of that trio, but I don't use it in playthroughs, so I'm not that attached. Birds, birds, birds.
The birds.
So many options, and yet, So what is my favorite flying type then? Tropius. What? Yeah, listen, I explain it more in its video, but it sort of just boils down to, look at him. Just look at him. I can't wax poetic about every Pokemon, you know. I can talk a bit more about my favorite rock type though, and this one's interesting because it's very new. Garganical. I think I might have a slight problem with recency bias when it comes to favorites. Thing new equals thing good, you know? But I am certain with this specific Pokemon that recency bias has nothing to do with why I like it. I love this thing because of the way that it is. The whole line, actually. Rest assured that it deserves a spot on this list among my longtime favorites. I am obsessed with this thing. Since the moment Nacli was accidentally revealed in a trailer, I knew I needed one. During our 24-hour livestream, I caught one with an insane ability, then found a Ghost Terra-type Knackle stack, and fell in love with it immediately, assuming that it was the final stage. It reminded me of Minecraft, but in a good way, if that makes sense. But it eventually evolved into this insane beast. It's so unique and cool, and it's a very reliable Pokemon to use in a playthrough. I love this thing, man. It's so cool. Moving on then, not to the next type, but to a surprise entry on the list. A sort of gradient between my favorite flying and my favorite rock type, as I couldn't quite figure out where to put it. So let's talk about my favorite flying rock type. Minior. Now you're probably thinking, oh, you're just padding the runtime of this video so you can put more ads in. Well, yeah. But also, believe you me, I didn't want to admit that Minior was a favorite of mine because it means I had to find a shiny one. Because remember, this is more than just a list, it's a challenge to find all of these Pokemon as shinies. But, as I was watching through the many drafts of this video, I knew it was missing something. And I had to cave in and add Minior, a hunt I kept putting off. But look at this thing. A Meteor Pokemon is such a cool idea, and while its shiny doesn't change on the outside, it's what's on the inside that counts. I love space and everything space related, and this Pokemon embodies that perfectly. Also, beyond its cute design, it's really fun to use in-game too, because it naturally learns both Shell Smash and Acrobatics, which is a crazy combo of moves. It shreds through Pokemon just like the meteor that killed all the dinosaurs. Love this funky little thing. And now, my favorite fighting type, Breloom. I didn't say anything about this guy in his video, and honestly, I don't have a lot to say here. Breloom is just one of those Pokemon that I like because of the way that he is. Passimian is a close second, and ties into a lot of my reasons for liking most of the Sun and Moon Pokemon, but Breloom beats Passimian simply based on vibes and usability alone. They took Shroomish in a really interesting direction. Some say he's a kangaroo, I think he's a raptor, but that's kind of what I like about him. He's simply a creature. A funny little guy. I wish he was in more games, he's very fun to use and he's cool. And now, my favorite normal type. A surprise entry on this list in my opinion because of how quickly it jumped from disappointing wasted potential to dream Pokemon in my mind. Ursaluna. So I love bears. Bears are insanely cool, and when it comes to Pokemon, my preferences usually stray away from more humanoid and lean toward the more animalistic. Out of all the bears in Pokemon before Legends Arceus came out, we were limited to dudes who stood up. Literally every bear Pokemon stands up. And out of all the first stage bear Pokemon, besides Stuffle, who has that Sun and Moon nostalgia edge to it, Teddiursa always stood out to me. He is the perfect first stage bear. He's literally a teddy bear. So when it stood up as Ursaring, I was kinda disappointed. And he remained pure normal type. And even though my favorite Pokemon ever is a normal type, I don't really like the normal type all that much by itself. And I much prefer when it's paired with another type. So when Ursaluna showed up in Legends Arceus, you could see how that's a dream come true, built for my exact preferences. On top of that, I love when Pokemon can learn the elemental punches or the elemental fangs, and this bear can learn all the elemental punches. That's awesome. This Pokemon retroactively made me love Teddiursa and Ursaring way more. I hope one day Beartic gets the Ursaluna treatment. Alright, so my favorite ghost type was another difficult one to figure out for the list. It really shouldn't have been. I know immediately what my favorite ghost type is, but I think that because this list was basically a shiny hunting to-do list, I avoided my real true answer. Scarlet and Violet are brand new games, and yet here I am, convincing myself to do a Sun and Moon hunt that I've always dreaded, but that I've always wanted to do. I don't think I could explain why I like this Pokemon so much, so instead, I think hammering home the fact that I am putting aside Scarlet and Violet to hunt this in Sun and Moon, the fact that I removed Dragapult from this spot in the list, even though I already found it months ago, the fact that this target rarely ever calls in buddies for SOS, the fact that nobody would care if I just said my favorite was Dragapult and moved on, all of these facts considered, my favorite ghost type is Dhelmise. And now I have to find a shiny Dhelmise, which might just make me hate it. This Pokemon will single-handedly delay the release of this list. Why do I do this to myself? Seriously though, I think my childhood obsession with pirates and huge ships combined with the amount of personality they somehow crammed into an anchor, its lore and cool ability, its sick shiny and typing you already know that I like, all of this culminates in a unique Pokemon that speaks to my interests, and I don't know why I ever avoided including it on the list. You know, I had a joke about how many dragon types were on this list, but now there's one less. Except its replacement has made me realize how many grass types are on the list. I don't know what to do with this information. But speaking of my favorite dragon type, Dragonite, the original dragon Pokemon. Considering how many of my favorite Pokemon happen to be dragons, choosing one dragon to be my favorite was impossible. So while I have a lot to say about Dragonite right now, I'll also mention that this spot is tied with Noivern. Noivern is just one of those Pokemon where the reason I like it is that, like, dude, come on, look at it, right? But if you want a backstory to explain the attachment, you won't find it with this bat. You'll find it with this goofball. My love for Dragonite started with my love for Pokemon, in the summer of 2016 with Pokemon Go. That period of time was insane. The whole world was seemingly obsessed with Pokemon Go, and everywhere I went, every gym seemed to be topped with a Dragonite. I had no idea how these people were finding that guy, and he's a funny dude to be the most powerful too, because he just looks so huggable. But one day, I was at the beach with my cousins, and I saw for the first time Dratini. Dratini is adorable, by the way. I caught it and was surprised to see that it was a dragon type. I looked it up and learned that it evolved into Dragonite, which was a surprise given how different they looked, but then I realized, hang on, there are so many Dratini here. And for the rest of the day, I just kept catching as many Dratini as I could get my hands on until I finally had Dragonite. I think Dragonite encapsulates everything I like in a Pokemon. Powerful and cool, but I could definitely still hug it. And now, for the flip side of the dragons, let's talk about my favorite fairy type, Alola Ninetales. What a Pokemon. It's so elegant and powerful. It's such a step up from Cantonian Ninetales in every way, and I think it embodies the potential of the idea of regional variants. The interesting thing is, I hadn't actually used an Alola Ninetales in Gen 7 at all. Even though I played through the Gen 7 games maybe a million different times, I didn't use one until Legends Arceus. For some reason, it's the only Alolan form included in the whole game, and as one of the few fairy types in the region, it put in work. My first fight with Volo was a breeze with an ice fairy type, and after I used it in my first playthrough, I used another one, again, in my second for my Legends Arceus buddy run. In fact, it was the very shiny Vulpix that I caught for this project. It's such a good Pokemon and a strange inclusion in Legends Arceus, and it quickly became a favorite of mine. And speaking of Legends Arceus, it introduced my favorite Steel type, and funnily enough, yet another dragon to add to the list. Hisuian Goodra. Legends Arceus really likes to fulfill my dreams and give a Pokemon that I thought was missing just one thing to make it perfect, that exact one thing that I thought was missing, and makes them perfect. When I played through Y for the first time and stumbled upon Gumi, I thought he was the funniest little guy, and I lost my mind when I saw there was a dragon type. Then it evolved into Sliggoo, and my hopes skyrocketed. It's a snail? Dude, I cannot stress enough how much I love snails. I was so excited for it to turn into a big snail dragon. I mean, look at it. It's got a little suggestion of a shell that has to become something, right? Right? Oh. Huh. Okay. Gooey Dragonite. Pure dragon type. If there's something about me you should know, it's that I prefer when a Pokemon is dual typed. It just makes my brain go burr. So overall, Goodra was very disappointing for me, and I boxed him. It didn't feel like a snail anymore. Then boom, Legends Arceus. A literal godsend of a Pokemon game. Not only did they give Goodra a shell, but they made him into a steel type. Dragon Steel is a busted type combo, and they gave it Iron Head and Shelter and an insano mode move pool, and he can curl up into his shell? Are you kidding me? This is the cutest powerhouse I have ever seen in my goddamn life. Look at this funky little dude. He's a snail dragon. They fixed him. This is everything I could have dreamed for and more. What a wonderful, goopy, big little dude. Love this guy to death. Now, before we move on to the final type of the list, I'm going to take a really quick detour to completely spam your brain with my honorable mentions. I'm doing this because, as you can probably tell, I am very indecisive, but also, I've been working on this video for a long time, and I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I'm leaving nothing out, because besides the challenge of finding all of my favorites as shinies, the point of this video is for all of you to get to know me better, and so we can see what opinions we have in common, or where we disagree. But really quick before that, I just want to say, if you made it this far into the video, you're amazing. We recently hit 2,000 subscribers here on the NovaLeague, and I just want to thank our channel members and regular viewers really quickly. I started making this video back when we had a handful of subs and hoped that by the time it was ready to come out, people would care enough to watch it. And since then, we've built an amazing community full of really cool and talented people, and we wouldn't still be here uploading if it weren't for the support of all of you. In a way, it's thanks to you, yes, you specifically, someone who's watched 27 minutes of this video so far, that this type of quest was ever finished in the first place. Now, with all of that out of the way, here are the honorable mentions. First, the grass type, Lurantis. The fact that this is literally just a flower that has evolved to mimic a mantis is so cool to me. Leafeon, which is my favorite evolution by the way, and Go-Goat. Skiddo is adorable, and its evolution is really cool. For fire types, we've got Centiskorch. One of the only things holding him back is a sort of disappointing shiny. Chi-Yu, he's a legendary firefish. That's just plain cool, and adorable. And Ceruledge. Despite my aversion to humanoid Pokemon, I am not immune to the edge. This thing reminds me a lot of stuff from my books, and I see it as less of a human Pokemon and more of an object Pokemon. It's possessed armor. That's awesome. For water, we have Kingler, who wasn't really on my radar until my first buddy run video. Cora the Kingler kinda carried that run, not gonna lie. Cramorant, who has a really silly and fun gimmick for playthroughs. And Kingdra. What can I say? I love seahorses. For electric, Alolan Raichu. Just look at him. Ampharos, who has an awesome Mega, I hope they bring it back someday, and Heliolisk. He's just a funky little lizard man. Love that guy. For ground, we've got the tried and true Flygon. All my homies love Flygon. Torterra, who has the perfect picnic spot right on his back, and Zygarde, but specifically the 10% form. Look at that dog! I don't actually really like the dark type all that much, so I only have one honorable mention, being Tyranitar. He earned a surprise spot on my dream team in Heart Gold because of Safari Week, and he was a fun Pokemon to use. Looks pretty cool too. Try to see if you can spot the odd one out in my honorable mention psychic types. Lunala, Necrozma, and Natu. That's right, the odd one out is Necrozma, the only single stage mon of the three. For poison, we've got the little alien Poipole, the knife snake Seviper, And what is Glamora? I swear several people have explained it to me and I still don't get it. It's really cool though. For bug types, obviously you gotta have Heracross up there, look at that dude. Golisopod, who is really only held back because of emergency exit, and Vivian, who I literally did not care at all about until the Pokemon Go postcard feature was added to Scarlet and Violet. Now that I can actually collect these goobers, I am in love with them. They're just neat. For flying types, Archeops, who I like better in his sprite form than 3D, but he's still cool. Mantine, who was originally my favorite flying type, but as Tropius came to Scarlet and Violet, it finally walked on the ground again and fixed my only problem with it, which nudged Mantine down a spot. Sorry, bud. And Braviary. Both of them. Of the existing bird Pokemon, I think these two are the most solid designs. The only thing holding them back is the ridiculous level needed to evolve them. Like, come on, man, just let me use these dudes. For rock types, you already know we have Dusk Lycanroc, Relicanth, who's a pretty cool dude for being an old fish, and Kabutops, who was my original favorite rock type. I feel bad about relegating this one to the honorable mentions because it still really means a lot to me, but I guess it just goes to show how much I like Garganacl. Enough to feel bad about hurting the feelings of a made-up fantasy creature. For fighting types, I just have to emphasize again how much I like Passimian. It's got an amazing shiny and design, and I've got a lot of Sun and Moon nostalgia for it. Graplocked, who has an adorable pre-evo, and this one surprised even me, Mienshao. I used this one in my last Sword playthrough, and it really surprised me. I had no idea its ability was Regenerator. That paired with U-Turn was really fun to use. It's got a neat design too. For normal types, we have Silvally. I will forever be jealous of Gladion for flaunting his type null that early in the game. Porygon. I like the whole line really, but specifically I like the uniqueness of the OG. It's a really cool idea. And Weirdeer. I always really liked Stantler, so when they gave it an evolution in Hisui with the same typing as Girafarig, I was instantly sold. Also, my Buddy Run video in Legends is one of my favorite videos on the channel. Love this guy. For Ghosts, you already know about Dragapult. I still do like this evolutionary line a lot, but I gotta say, Dreepy carries the whole line, you know? Continuing the trend of Buddy Run veterans popping up in the honorable mentions, Alolan Marowak. Its design speaks for itself, really. And Hisuian Zoroark. I think this is a hot take, but I actually don't like Unovan Zoroark at all. Like, not even a little bit. So the fact that Hisuian Zora and Zoroark are some of my all-time favorite designs in all of Pokemon is kind of insane. For dragons, we've got Tyrantrum. Hey man, that's a T-Rex. That's just a T-Rex? Also, a crest of feathers? Dude, feather dino representation? You got me. I'm sold. Yeah. Also, there's Appleton, the perfect combo of my two favorite types, and Jangmo-O. This may or may not be my favorite first stage Pokemon of all time. Actually, that's not true because Girafarig has retroactively become a first stage Pokemon, but you know what I mean. For the fairy type, you can see my Alola bias in full display with Ribombee, Primarina, and Tapu Koko. Gen 7's dex just goes crazy, okay? For steel types, we have the objectively best Meowth evolution, Berserker, and also the objectively best Scyther evolution, Scizor. And my favorite Ultra Beast, both in terms of its design and how fun it is to say. Stack-a-tacka. Stack-a-tacka-tacka, stack-a-tacka, stack-a-tacka-tacka, stack-a-tacka-tack, stack-a-tack, stack-a-tacka-tack. Okay, so moving on from the honorable mentions, let's talk about my favorite ice type. Oh, yeah, I should mention, I don't have any honorable mentions for the ice type. Now, this isn't because I don't like ice types. It's because I like too many ice types. So we're actually going to be talking about my favorite ice types, plural. Listen, 3 seems like a lot, I know, but let me explain. Back when I recorded this list months ago, I only had 2 favorite ice types. But see, this trailer for Scarlet and Violet dropped, and like with Dreadnought, it introduced a Pokemon that I liked so much, so fast, that it immediately became a favorite. No matter how good it actually is, based purely on its design. Titan. The second I saw it, I realized how crazy it is that it's taken 9 generations for Game Freak to make a whale with legs Pokemon. Like, this is a game series about evolution, and they haven't once referenced the fact that whales come from a land-based ancestry. I love that its name is a reference to the cetacean family of animals. I love that it's got such a weird-shaped mouth and baleen teeth. It's huge and looks powerful, but also it has a hint of that cute little guy charm in there. It looks like a friend, but a friend that would kill a dragon for you. This is exactly the kind of design I feel like Pokemon was missing, and it's awesome that the Paldea region has welcomed this new beast into the decks. But let's set aside this new beast for a second to talk about this old beast, Lapras. Like, okay, I guess technically I could have tied Lapras with my favorite water type instead, but I thought it was funnier to have 3 favorite ice types. Well, that, and I think these 3 ice types are a very thematic way to end the list. But anyway, Lapras. Is anybody honestly surprised that Lapras made the list? Do I really need to explain why I like this Pokemon so much? There are 0 people in the world that dislike Lapras. And if there is one person out there who doesn't like Lapras, well, no there isn't. They just exploded right now. The power of the world's love for Lapras just exploded that one hater. This is simply a perfect Pokemon. There's no deep meaning behind this, it's just perfect. It's rare and mystical, fierce and monstrous, but also friendly and huggable. It strikes the perfect balance of things I enjoy in Pokemon. And interestingly, it seems that my favorite ice types represent the perfect gradient between all of the things I like in Pokemon. The perfect range from cool, fierce, powerful looking animals to silly little guys. See, I feel like it is my responsibility to defend this next Pokemon with my life because everybody seems to hate him so much. Brace yourselves, because I've noticed that this is somehow a controversial take, but I don't care. I'm gonna say it. I love Ice-Q with my whole entire heart, and I mean it. If Ice-Q has 100 fans, I'm there. If Ice-Q has 10 fans, I'm there. If Ice-Q has 1 fan, it's me. If Ice-Q has 0 fans, I'm dead. I will defend this stupid idiot penguin until my dying breath. I liked this guy immediately when I saw him, but after the hate I noticed it was receiving, it only fueled me more to defend his honor. Rando and Avocide had apparently seen the leaks, and were waiting for me to run into Ice-Q so they could see my reaction. I entered the ice gym. I started the battle. They were looking at me, waiting. Melanie sent out Ice-Q, and I gasped and said, "I love him." They said, "No, just wait, just wait." I hit him with a physical attack. His head broke and revealed his stupid little real head beneath the ice. They thought I would recoil with disgust, but I gasped and said I love him even more. Listen, this guy's hilarious. He's so shy under the ice, but he's so awkward with that block over his head as he wobbles unbalanced. When his head breaks, he looks so sad that he's been revealed, but he can form it back again with his singular stupid little hair. I can't describe it, but this Pokemon is perfect. Everything about this guy is so dumb, and I love that so much. Nothing you can say will change my mind that Ice-Q is a perfect Pokemon. I will fight you on that. Also, his shiny is pink. Literally shut up if you hate Ice-Q, you're objectively wrong. So there they all are. All of my favorite Pokemon of each type. What a strange list. I know for certain that a handful of these picks are fairly popular and uncontroversial favorites, but with picks like Ice-Q and Girafarig, I know the opposite is also true. So what do you think? What are your favorites? If you have stories to tell about why you like a Pokemon, please share them in the comments. I'd really like to read them. And if you want to see me find each and every one of these Pokemon as shinies, watch through the playlist and catch up on the stories I didn't tell. And until next time, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss whatever project we're working on next here at the NovaLeague. And we'll see you guys later. Now get out of here, you know too much.